Following a disputed election and a tie vote, the U.S. Congress installs the most unpopular president in U.S. history as David Jefferson Adams becomes the 44th President of the United States. Shortly after the election, increased unrest, rioting, and a growing number of militias have given rise to ever-increasing domestic terrorism. In response, the president invokes the Homeland Security Act and declares martial law on the West Coast and other areas of the country. Though highly contested, a Supreme Court ruling sidesteps the electoral process, disqualifying popular presidential candidates from several states. Public outrage explodes when a sham election leads to incumbent David Adams accepting a second term in office. During the 57th Inauguration Day ceremonies, Washington, D.C. is struck by a low-yield nuclear weapon, killing David Adams and most of the U.S. Congress. The destruction of Washington, D.C. effectively breaks the chain of succession, sending the nation into chaos. In an emergency vote, the European Union deploys peacekeepers in the greater D.C. area to secure international interests. With separatist sentiment rising, California's governor declares home rule and secedes from the Union. Texas follows quickly and declares sovereignty, taking neighboring states with them and forming the Republic of Texas. Now, the once United States of America lie in ruin. The time for words has passed, and a second American Civil War now erupts as 7 factions wage war across the land. They battle one another to reclaim a nation, to restore peace, to rebuild this shattered union.
Hello and welcome to a game that no one was expecting. It's Shattered Union. Right, this game was panned when it came out. I was a big TBS fan, so I bought it anyway. But it was somewhat panned when it came out for having a ridiculous, improbable story that no one could get behind. So, here we are. But seriously, it's not the most deep game that there ever was, strategically, but it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to play it and I'm going to relive my youth here, playing the game that I liked, nobody else liked. Well, a few people liked it. I think opinion has turned on this game now, and that people are going back and playing it, largely because of current events. So this game is in 1040 by 768, which was the native resolution of this game, because this game is from the era when games had native resolutions rather than just perfectly scaling to your desktop. That's the kind of thing that we enjoy in this day and age, is that the game is just going to perfectly scale to our desktop. But back in the day, games were fitted neatly for a 640 by 480 display, and then later 800 by 600, and then for 124 by 728, and then 768, and then from then on, scaling became a thing as weird shaped widescreen, X-screen, curved screen, multi-screen stuff started to take off. Game developers realized that they needed to scale their games to the screen. But here we are. So if you're expecting this in 4K, well, the video is in 1040 by 768, because that is... I'm literally playing this natively, using an old copy of the game. This is not the Steam version of the game. This is actually the original boxed version of the game, which I have gotten working. Speaking of which, if you want to play your old boxed version, it does work on Windows 10. There's me saying, like, as if anybody's got a copy of this game. But if you did happen to buy it, you can get it working. But you need to put D3D DirectX 8 and 9 diag-dil files into the folder, and the executable will look for them and execute them, and that will allow you to play. Very complicated techno-nonsense coming out of my mouth here. I will host those files somewhere, and then you can just download them and paste them into your directory, and they'll work, and the game will work. This took me hours to get working, hours and hours, because it's got a classic problem for old games, which is that it cannot see more than 2 gigs of memory. If you've got more than 2 gigs of memory, it's too clever for its own good. Instead of just running, if it can't see how much memory you've got, it presumes that you don't have enough memory. So you get a message saying that you don't have at least 2 gigs of memory, or at least 512 meg of memory or something. You'll get that message. Because it can't see more than 2. Operating systems had a limitation of 2, 4, like 8, and then infinite gigs of memory. I think it was Windows XP was limited to 4, but I think it could only address 3 properly. So, anyway. In this game, we have 7 factions. 6 of which are obviously US factions. The Republic of Texas. Yup, the Confederacy is back, boys. And then you have the European Union peacekeepers, who are extremely difficult to play because everybody hates you. So of course we're gonna play as the European Union. For the Union. Oh, what a surprise! We're under attack immediately. Now, one thing about this game's strategy, which sort of makes it a simplistic game, is that better units are just better. So, as the defender, you have a huge advantage. Well, not a huge advantage, but you have an advantage as the European Union, in that you can deploy single-use peacekeepers, and unlike US infantry, like militia, and so not talking about commandos here or proper military units like the EU here get EU commandos and so on. I can show you those actually by switching to deployment. So you see here I've got EU commandos, hand-selected commandos from various European Union nations, but the long story short is that EU peacekeepers are like literal peacekeepers, and they're needlessly good for 3000, even if they are single-use only. But then it's what you would expect, because they're actually battle-hardened troops that have spent decades in various hellholes, for want of a better word, places where, you know, stability is not a thing. You know, they've been keeping the peace in war-torn countries around the globe for, you know, however long, and so they are considerably tougher than the militia defenders that you get for the other factions. So it's one small advantage that you have as the EU, is that you can deploy these and use them as bait. Everyone gets access to these units. Kind of wasteful, though, to spend so much money on single-use units, if you ask me. Right, for our deployment, we're going to take all of our anti-air. To be honest, I don't think that there's much of a role for scout choppers in this game, funnily enough. We'll take all of our air units. And all of our tanks. All of our artillery. The only reason why I'm not taking this light stuff is I'm going to sell it and I don't want it to get destroyed. It's relatively easy to destroy, but we'll talk more about that. One other sort of small advantage is that you have is that you start with one sector, which is not an advantage per se, because obviously you're getting less money and less bonuses by having only a single sector. But what it does mean is that in the initial phase of the war, when everyone just attacks you, your units are deployed to a tile. So if someone attacks you in one place and you deploy a load of units, those units will not be available to deploy in another place if you get attacked somewhere else. But as the EU, you start in one tile, so you can in theory deploy everything. And if you then get attacked again, all of those units will still participate because they're in that square. So you can weather the storm of being set upon early on. Right. Of course it's not WASD for movement, it's arrow keys. We're back in the era of arrow keys. Airfield is actually is an incredibly tough unit that is hard to destroy. I don't know if you can cycle through units either. I think you have to deploy your units as you get them, so you have to be a little bit careful. So I want to deploy anti-aircraft here, so I really don't want to deploy my artillery there. Okay, that's a Gepard. That's anti-air. No, it's not. It's a Leopard. Ah, I don't think I can undeploy. Welcome to gaming back in the day. A Challenger! Mark 1 Challengers. Get to the chopper. Choppers can't occupy the same space as a land unit in this game, so... There we go. There's my Gepard. Okay. They get the first turn because they're attacking. I don't think you're allowed to deploy aircraft on the first turn either, which is annoying. Come at me, boys. Come at me. Oh, artillery. Wow. Not proper artillery. Oh, poor peacekeepers. I'm surprised the anti-aircraft gun did not intervene there. Okay, that's a mistake. You think your little anti-air car is gonna take on the Gepard? Wow, they deployed a lot of helicopters. You can see what I mean by peacekeepers make great bait. Combat in this game is extremely lethal. Okay. Shoot and scoot, my friends. Shoot and scoot. This was actually pretty, not revolutionary, but being able to actually move, shoot, and move again is unusual in this kind of game. I got a little bit too close there, actually. That was a mistake. Oh well. That's a very expensive unit they just lost, though, to be fair. Right. Before I call it an airstrike, let's get rid of this stupid anti-air car. Wow, the peacekeepers lost that battle. I guess because it's an open tile. Is this artillery close enough? There we go. Okay, so you can reach that tank. You can reach there. I think there's some zone of control going on here. I didn't want to use a tank on this thing, but I'm gonna have to. Alright. Call in the airstrikes. There is no way to sustain these kind of casualties, by the way. Like, helicopters are incredibly pricey. This kind of, you know, throwaway attitude that the AI has is unsustainable. Right, the airport can get one as well. Let us duel. Okay, alright. That's good. They haven't used any airstrikes on me yet, and I think that was because they just decided that my air defenses were too spicy. Let's call it a bombing run on this idiot. I love how much damage tanks do to bombers in this game. It's totally unrealistic. It's part of the way the battle system works. face the wrath of German engineering. Keeping the peace. Okay, if I move this anti-aircraft gun here, it's got 3 range. Pretty sure it's got 3 range. No, it's got 4 range. Sweet. So I should cover this tank out here. There's an enemy artillery piece there. I don't know if I should risk calling an airstrike on that, because there could be anti-air defenders behind it. Okay, no return fire. He might have been out of range. You definitely don't want to lose any of your aircraft. Okay. If the peacekeepers die, so be it. It's a price, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Oh, they failed. Okay, that's mean. I was gonna say, peacekeepers generally lose any combat against real military infantry, but they had a robust defense. Engineers are actually not very good against other infantry. They're actually anti-tank. Great thing about the Gepard is it's just, you know, high velocity autocannons on a tank can actually be put to good use against infantry and other vehicles as well. Which is something I'll discuss more about when we get to an actual purchase phase. Okay, there's that. Monster missile launcher. You don't want to get into a battle of exchanging artillery with that thing. Because it will win. Don't want to just want to avoid having our artillery too much on the front line because it's actually, you know, peacekeepers or whatever. They're 3 grand a pop, but artillery is also not fabulously expensive, but you still don't want to lose it. Okay, that bit of artillery that I ran away I can bring up now. I'm going to try and repair these units with the repair power once it's off cooldown. We'll speak about the power system shortly as well. Okay, I think we're done for now. They're the attackers, so I'm at liberty to sit on my hands. Anything else that's damaged that needs repairing desperately? Just this. Okay, they've taken an objective. This one. That's fine with me. If you really want to as well, you can, because there's an objective here. And the only way to get to it is these 2 bridges, and then there's an objective here. And they've got to hold, I think, all of them. So you can actually set up a defense here if you want, and choke them here and here, but it's not necessary. Anyway, now that we know that they're there, I can just... Oh! There's a fighter patrolling over there. Okay. You can put your fighters on patrol as well. Oh look, artillery behind the hill. How naughty. Sadly, I cannot get my aircraft into range. And I don't want to get into an artillery exchange with American artillery. That's a bad idea. I could deal with them with the choppers, but no, they still have that fighter. He is actually out of patrol range. I don't know where their anti-air is located. So there is some level of risk here in calling in an airstrike on that. Where's the old... Yeah, I mean there is coverage here. Say move this here, move this here. What is the... I wish I knew the range of that thing off by heart. It might be 5. It's gonna be at least 4. You know what, let's not worry about them for now. If I later find out that they've got no air support, I'll dump bombs on them. The thing is, you know, they could have... I've only killed one anti-aircraft gun, and I know that all the factions start with at least 4. So if the other 3 are here, I could be walking my planes into an ambush. In a game that's very lethal, punishes mistakes very harshly. Okay, I have really good sight from the hill. I think they're unsupported. I think there's a very strong possibility that they're unsupported. But, you know, do you want to lose a Nimrod over it? They have quite the price. Let's go for it. Okay, I mean, it looks clear. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay, none of their short-range anti-air could possibly be in range. Only the long-range anti-air, which has got 4, could have been in range. And after that, I'm pretty sure that this is unsupported. You made a grave mistake with your artillery, my friend. I can only imagine that they had some units that have gone past and gone down here. Which may or may not include some anti-air, but at the end of the day, they gotta take Baltimore if they want to win. So, even if they've slipped past me, I'll recapture this. It could just be a scout car. Just keeping careful thought in my mind of what we've destroyed. I mean, we've taken out 3 artillery pieces, you only get 4. Oh, their entire helicopter force has bit the dust. Yeah, look, this down here now. I could just sweep in with my helicopters. I do have, like, overwhelming air superiority now. But they can call in an airstrike from anywhere, so you have to keep that in mind. That if I take my helicopters out of the safety of the anti-air, because in this game, anti-air will interfere in a fight between aircraft. If I take them from the safety. Oh, there's a Russian supply box over there. Maybe I should go get it. There's no easy way for me to get to it though. I'd probably get my ass bombed into dust going after it. Oh, there's the airport. There's the airport. I can't go after it though with a fighter and an air. These two will defend each other, so I can't call airstrikes on it. I wouldn't. That wouldn't go very well. See what I mean? That's why you can't go exploring with tanks. Because the AI will just call in an airstrike on your tank, and then you would just be like, ah. My day is ruined and my sadness is legendary. Sadly, I lost one of my Gepards early. Cool. Repair powers on off cooldown. This box is not reachable for me, because this is actually, these rivers split this area. Oh, they're down there! And that means they gotta cross the bridge. They only had 15 days to get the job done, so... I can, of course, just sit on my hands. I doubt they've gone this way. Yeah, so if I move these choppers here, and the enemy comes up and sees them, they could call airstrikes on them, and I've only got one anti-air here, and one here. But I need two to truly put off being stealth bombed, so... Come on, we know you're out there. I got a complete blockade going on here, so there's no way. Okay, now this area is protected. I'll bring a chopper over. Ah, there's 2 Russian boxes over here now. You can get money and units out of those, which is quite cool. Unfortunately, you see there's no bridge, so in order to get over that side of the map you've got to go up here and then down here, which means going past the airport. And the airport is a nightmare to kill. It's got 100 hit points. You know, your best tank has got 20. So it can take a huge amount of abuse. It can't defend itself from ground units, but the bombers sure as hell can. I'd literally have to go up there and force. Well, there's only 4 days left, so it's not worth it. Whoa. It's a freaking armored car. Where is it? Oh, it's here, wasn't it? Brutal. Partisans. No, there's got to be more units out there. There's got to be more down here somewhere. Spread out my tanks. I haven't at all seen their armor. I think I've seen like 1 tank this fight. Oh, a box. I got a Vodnik scout car. Hey, it can traverse water. It's amphibious. Sweet. Oh no, it just... yeah. I might get these boxes after all. Okay. So he went down there and he went down there. Boxes are being dropped everywhere. We are victorious! Units in battle 17, units destroyed 4. Wait, that can't be right. Oh no, wait, that's my units, I guess. Yeah. 12. I killed 12 of their units and there was 5, so there must have been 5 left somewhere. You know what, they probably resigned to stop me from picking up all the boxes. Russian aid! Oh. Okay, I was not attacked by the Confederacy, which is surprising. Okay, so first things first, you can repair your stuff. There's no repair all button, sadly. I don't think anything was damaged. Looks like you don't keep the Russian aid units. Or do you? No. So yeah, the problem with this is one of these funny things. But the problem with, like, anti-tank, for example, in this game, it's easier to show on the purchase screen. So the best anti-tank costs 25 grand and has reasonably decent stats. And you'll see that, you know, the best tank... Oh, this is the fictional. The EU Goliath. It's the... Each faction gets a special unit. You can see that its stats are broadly similar to the tank, just to a basic tank, but it's somewhat cheaper. But if you are the good steward of your units, you will very rarely lose any units, if any. And it's not as if anti-tank is, you know, better than tanks against tanks. It's more cost effective against tanks, but actually tanks are just better. Tanks are just better than mostly everything. Which is why medium armor is really just a waste of time. Because why would you want a medium tank and pay 30 grand for it? You know, when you can pay for heavy armor and get vastly superior stats. Not vastly superior, but reasonably superior. Anyway, this is just out of personal preference, really, but I actually feel like the only things that you should buy is your super tank, if you have one. So I'm going to buy one right now. Artillery, which generally speaking I do favour the longer range and more fragile artillery. Just shoot and scoot it. Just shoot it and then run it away from the front line. Amusingly, for the EU, the more powerful artillery... Well, I guess it's not the more powerful artillery, but it's got better range. If it's got slightly worse anti-tank. It's the cheaper one. Ironically, what is arguably the better one is the cheaper one, but they both have their place. They're not... I wouldn't sell one to buy the other, let's put it that way. They're both reasonable. Interestingly, the same is true of these two. The Gepard is just a better, tougher unit. The Trident has inferior stats across the board, but it has one more anti-air range. EU anti-air is not that great. The American Avenger car is actually much better in the anti-air role, but it's not a tank. It's quite weak. It's quite soft. It can be picked off very easily. The Gepard is a tank and is actually reasonably difficult to destroy. Anyway, we need a replacement one for the one that we lost. Now, as you can see here, you have a scout helicopter, and I mean, its stats are decent, but I wouldn't say that the Tiger is any less of a good scout. I mean, sure, it's got one less range, sight range. It's got one less sight range, but its actual stats are vastly superior. I actually feel like scout helicopters are... they're money easily lost. So my general recommendation is, even though you don't get full money back, sell your anti-tanks. Sell your Mangusta scout helicopters. Now, the Typhoon is eminently superior to the Tornado. But you're not going to get a full refund here. So there isn't a pressing need to sell your Tornado to upgrade it, unless you've got money in the bank. Likewise, you know, if you've got money in the bank, you could sell your Challengers and your Leopards for EU Goliaths if you really want. But once again, it's a bit wasteful. EU Commandos is something I would get rid of. I mean, they're good. This is the sad part. They're actually a very good unit, stat-wise. Unfortunately, they have a very serious problem, which is that their range is 1. And because they've only got 1 range, every unit in the game can outrange them. So all you get is you just get tanks and vehicles just sat at 2 range, sniping away at them. So they never achieve anything. The heavy infantry does not have that problem, it has 2 range. It's also cheaper, funnily enough, but it has no defense, so it's killed incredibly easily. So infantry in this game is actually just a waste of time. Apart from Peacekeepers, because for $3,000 they can, you know, you would rather lose $3,000 worth of Peacekeepers than your precious units. So it's always worth, they're always worth it. Okay, same with medium tanks here. They just don't do it for me. Scout cars can be useful. They're only $6,000, so they're not super expensive. And with 4 sight radius, they've got good sight too. But they obviously, just like with Peacekeepers, they die instantly if anyone so much as looks at them. So they're of dubious utility. If you deploy them, don't ever expect them to survive the battle. Any unit can one-shot them. So they're bait and they give you information. But as the EU, you can do that with Peacekeepers for half the price. So on the defense, I should say on the defense. On the offense, when you're attacking, you can't use Peacekeepers. They are a defensive only unit. So scout cars can be useful for scouting on the attack. Right, I'll have another one of them. I think I'll take another Gepard as well. I love how the EU bomber is just a transport plane. It's just a transport plane just dropping fridges and pianos on people's heads. It's pretty, yeah, it's pretty funny. So as you can see, it's not the most complicated game in the world. Oh, can you actually use Peacekeepers on the offense? That would be interesting to try. I'll buy a couple. Okay, that is it for now. I hope you enjoyed Shattered Union. I got a whole United States to conquer, so I better get on that. The obvious move here is to go after the New England Alliance again and really make them pay for opening hostilities on me. Usually, the Confederacy have a bash as well, but I think after that broad repulse, they weren't so interested. Oh, speaking of which, these bars, they provide little bonuses for the more territory that you control. I think it's like extra money, cheaper aircraft, cheaper infantry, cheaper tanks. I think this might be cheaper units in general, cheaper aircraft, cheaper infantry, cheaper tanks. Better attack, better defense, more fuel. I've never run out of fuel in a battle ever. And I can't remember what that does. I'll have to consult the manual, which is somewhere. I'll have to consult El Manuel as to what these things do. But I think that's what they do, off the top of my head. But yes, that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.